the intense feel of competition. I love to be able to look at my opponent and gauge his weaknesses. I love to be able to work on my game to realize that there's a way that I can control how good I was or not, to learn about what my strengths and weaknesses are. Baseball, I still to this day, the smell of spring and being out there on the field and getting your uniform dirty and taking a lead off first base and looking at the pitcher and knowing you can steal off him, all those things were so much a part of who I was and that gave me my identity, that gave me the ability to know what I was good at. Well, I was able to take that love for sports and work for ESPN. I got the job when I was 25, and I had to move to Connecticut. Now, for those of you who don't like Long Island, I don't know if anybody's from Connecticut, and I don't want to offend anybody, but Connecticut was not my cup of tea, right? And I had to live in, I don't know if any of you know where ESPN is, but it's in Bristol, Connecticut. And Bristol, Connecticut is not the hub of attraction. It's a real boring place, and if ESPN wasn't there, I'm not sure if it would really exist. But that's where I lived. And the Connecticut people, to me, weren't Long Islanders. Long Island was home. I knew Long Island people. Connecticut people were Red Sox fans. They were, some of them were even worse. They were Yankee fans, or they were a combination. I don't know how this could happen, because if you're a Red Sox fan, you're not a Yankee fan. But they were a combination of both. But either way, they looked down on me because I was a Jet fan and I was a Met fan, and pretty much all the teams that never win, those are the teams that I root for. So I don't know if you have a picture up there, but in my time at ESPN, in my time at ESPN, I won 2 Emmy Awards, okay? Now, there's proof, all right? Me holding the Emmy Award, for those of you who can't see it, all right? When I joined Three Village Church and I started to get involved in activities, and because maybe I'm not, maybe my intellect is more grounded and sports is really where I have my knowledge, a lot of people at Three Village, they are super smart, and they are at a level that I'm not. They're engineers, they're professors, scientists. One of my best friends did work for NASA and studied brown dwarfs, so things I have absolutely know nothing about. So when I would come with my knowledge of sports, maybe it wasn't as impressive to them as being able to recite a PDF, what planets revolve around what, or what the constellations are, or what galaxies there are. I didn't know much about that stuff. But there's my proof of one of the Emmy Awards I have. And I gave one to my mom and one to my dad. And if you think it's easy to win an Emmy Award, I only won 2, and we were up for it every year. So it's pretty hard, and I take a lot of pride in that. But also, one of the things that I was very good at is I have a photographic memory. And why I got the job at ESPN was I can roll off sports facts like you wouldn't believe. And a lot of my friends like to tease me. For those of you who are football fans, I don't know how many of you guys are out there, but this is the 50th anniversary of the Super Bowl. It started in 1966. The first game was actually in January of 1967. But that's the way the seasons work. It's the season, since most of the games took place in 1966. It was the 1966 season, even though the Super Bowl was in 1967. I'm able to recite all 49 Super Bowl winners. I can tell you the MVP, and I can tell you where the game was. Not everybody can do that, and if we had time, and if you could see the screen better, I would put it up there, and you'd be able to quiz me on it. But do you think you could see some of that? Yeah. Can you guys see that? Yeah. No? All right. Well, then we won't do it. But anyway, if you were able to see that screen, and you could go down, and I would be able to recite for you line for line who the winners were, who the MVP, and where the game was played. Not only could I do that with the Super Bowl, but I could do that with the World Series, I could do that with the NBA, and I could do that with the NHL. So that's part of my sickness, and that's part of why I was valuable at ESPN. But going back to high school, what I found my identity in was what I could do. I was an athlete, and I knew that, and that was what gave me joy. So how many of you guys right now know what your strengths are? have a pretty good idea of what you want to do. You know when, man, if I have a bad day, if there's something going wrong, I have an argument with my mom, my girlfriend's giving me a lot of pain, I can do this and I know I'll find peace and I'll find my identity and I'll find my perspective. How many of you guys know have something like that? So how many of you guys, that's athletics? Come on, higher. Yes, all right. Now how many of you guys is that grades? Huh? Come on. How many of you guys, if you get a 99 on a test, your life is over?
All our lives are over.
No one's gonna. All right, calm down. I didn't mean to incite a riot. Okay? But why is that important to us? Why is it important that we know our strengths? Why is it important that we get that 100? We need to do that. I'm here at Stony Brook School. I need to get 100. My parents will hate me. My friends will hate me. I'll look like a fool if I don't get the best grades, if I'm not the valedictorian or the salutatorian, or if I don't score 30 points on Friday night against Greenlawn or Southport or whoever it is now. I'm not fulfilling my destiny. I'm not finding my identity good enough. Well, so why is that important? Well, it gives us a sense of accomplishment, obviously. It gives us acknowledgement. I mean, right? How many of you guys like to be praised? Huh? How many of you guys, you know, if you go out on the court and if you score 40 points on Friday night, how many like Coach Hickey to say, man, you did a great job? Right? I mean, that makes you feel good, doesn't it? Right? You get acceptance. Your classmates look at you and say, well, I want to sit next to her during a test. She's a smart one. Right? You earn ability to have praise from others, to get recognized from others, and it makes you feel good. That's why it's so important to be able to have things that you know that are your strengths and that you can capitalize on. Well, let me tell you what happened to me when I was in high school. All right, I've already gone through the fact that I love to play, and that, believe me, if there's anything you guys love to do, how I love sports was, I can't even tell you the love I have for sports. It was so much a part of me. So I'm getting ready for my junior season, and I had worked my butt off in between sophomore and junior year. I actually came to Stony Brook camp here. I don't want to call it, Coach Hickey was one of my instructors, and I learned so much about basketball that summer, about baseball that summer. I couldn't wait for the season to start. I don't want to offend anybody maybe, but I went to Smithtown Christian. Okay, I know they're a rival. I don't know how they are at basketball, but when I was there, we were pretty good. And we were ready to really dominate. I was a junior, another classmate of mine, Jake Miller, he was a junior. He went on to go play at Liberty. I had two senior friends, Mike Landau and Tim Pickering. They were average 20 points per game each of their sophomore and junior years. So we were ready. We were going to take on Long Island. Now, at that point, Smithtown Christian wasn't in League 8. We were in a league called the IFSL. So, but we played all around Long Island, and we played public schools, we played the Smithtown schools, we played everybody we could because we wanted to get exposure. So I was ready, and I was ready to really show I could dunk now, I could really dribble fast from up and down the court, left hand, right hand, behind the back, in between the legs, everything. My game was ready. Well, in November, as practice started, I started noticing I was a little tired. And I was on medication at the time, and I figured that was it. But then I also noticed I started to get a bump. And it was in a weird place. It was in my rear, and everybody can laugh if they want. But I thought it was a hemorrhoid. And I didn't pay much attention to it. I asked my dermatologist. She said, well, this isn't a normal side effect of the medication, but you know, each person has medication differently, so I wouldn't worry about it. So, okay. So I kind of let it go, and then come early December, it was really starting to bother me, where I couldn't sit right. Every time I went to the bathroom, I'd be in pain. So Saturday night, it was December 7th, 1990, we played here in this very gym. We played Stony Brook, and we lost. And I was angry. When I found out the game, I went right over there and I kicked probably about 5 chairs and all went down in my anger because that was a bad game. Only 12 points, only 6 rebounds in the game that we lost. So it was my fault. And the Fisher brothers, I don't know if any of you remember them. I'm sure Coach Sticky does, but Fisher brothers were really good at the time, and they had beaten us. And I had kind of a rivalry with them, so that made me feel worse. But after the game, I just didn't feel right. And then the next day, when I went to the bathroom, I was in such intense pain. So my dad took me to the doctor, went to the walk-in clinic. They said, oh, what you have is an abscess. And it's basically just filled with pus, and we'll remove it and you'll be fine. So they operated on me, and then when I wake up in the operating room, I'm still not feeling better, and then the doctor says to me, we made a mistake. You didn't have an abscess. What we cut into was a solid mass, and you're lucky you're alive because you almost bled to death right there on the table. So that was the first warning. Then as the days went on, they sent in a biopsy. They didn't know what was wrong with me. And then it came back. They told my parents what was wrong, but they didn't tell me. So I'm sitting there wondering what's going on. The doctor came in, he spoke to my dad, and they left, and now I'm sitting there wondering. So I got out of my bed, I went down to the hall, I see my mom, my dad, doctors in a room, and they're all crying. So I walk in and I said, guys, what's going on? I've been waiting. And the doctor kind of looks at me in tears and he says, Mark, we're going to send you to the city because you're sick. And I didn't know what that meant, but I said, okay. And then casually I said, do I have cancer? And he said, yes. Now to me, cancer was an old person's disease. We're talking 1990 here, okay? Old people got cancer, not 16-year-olds. You don't know what I can do, Doc. I can dominate. I'm a basketball player. I can't get cancer. That's not who I am. Well, this is now what I have to deal with. But little did I know that even the diagnosis that he gave me wasn't as bad as it really was. It turns out that the initial diagnosis that I had, that doctor told my parents, your son only has 6 months to live. Because the cancer he has is so rare, we've never seen it before. And this is what your son has. But we can't do anything to help you. We're going to send you to Sloan Kettering in the city. And they'll be able to maybe give you more interest. So we went to Sloan Kettering, and thank God they were able to re-diagnose me. Wasn't that much better, but there was a slight binge of hope. Because it wasn't terminal cancer, it was rhabdomyosarcoma. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, and I would assume that's all of you, it's a skeletal muscle cancer, and only children between the ages of 2 to 6 get it. And there's only 66 cases per year in the world. So here I am, a 16-year-old. How did I get it? Still don't know. But the one thing about that is it was a very aggressive cancer. And even if I beat the disease, sure, it would come back. So what the doctors had to do is they designed a protocol that was so aggressive. Mark, we might kill you, but the cancer won't come back. Okay, well, you know what? I don't really have many choices. I had to go with what the doctor said. So I went on a protocol, a very aggressive treatment that was 6 doses of chemotherapy designed to destroy my bone marrow and then get it back in a bone marrow transplant. I had 2 doses of radiation, which still caused me damage today. Because of the radiation, I have Crohn's disease. I have lymphedema, where it's, if you saw my leg, it's wrapped right now, but my leg, if that wasn't wrapped, would be about 3-4 times the size of my left leg. That's because of the surgery I had to remove lymph nodes that what they thought were cancerous. So this is what I was dealing with. Everything that I had known about myself, everything that I had put my trust in, everything that was my identity, that who I was different. All my friends were jocks. I didn't understand people who were jocks. If you couldn't catch, if you couldn't throw, if you couldn't